Hello, today we'll be presenting our paper, Maps, Preserving Vision Language Representations via Module-Wise Proximity Scheduling for Better Vision Language Action Generalization. Vision Language Action Models, or VLAs, are generalist policies that leverage pre-trained VLMs and robotics data scaling to directly output executable robot actions conditioned on image and language inputs. These models typically consist of pre-trained vision encoders and language backbones as well as a bespoke action tokenizer. A widely observed phenomenon in VLA models is that they do not generalize well when out of distribution. The predominant hypothesis is that the data mismatch of internet-scale vision language data and small-scale robotics data induces spurious correlation and damages the learned priors and pre-trained components. For example, a Dino V2 vision encoder taken from before and after the action fine-tuning process loses its ability to predict depth within the input image. While scaling robotics data is a common solution, in this paper we explore whether there is a principled way to guide the evolution of VLM weights during the VLM to VLA transfer. We begin with the most naive and common strategy for controlling VLM adaptation, weight freezing. Through a preliminary study that systematically freezes components across two VLA models and evaluates ID and OOD performance on two benchmarks, we identify four stable findings. First, language components must adapt to learn the action SE3 space, with the final language layer before the LM head being especially critical. Second, freezing vision encoders generally improves performance, particularly Dino V2, which appears to preserve key geometric and spatial priors. Siglet plays an intermediate role, bridging Dino V2 and the downstream language components. However, freezing is not universally reliable. The same configuration does not consistently transfer across models or benchmarks. Thus, manually selected and hard constraint heuristics like freezing is suboptimal. To reduce this inductive bias, we turn to soft regularization via robust fine-tuning, or RFT, which minimizes task loss while limiting parameter drift. However, naive RFT yields only modest gains over vanilla fine-tuning. As shown by the layer-wise L2 deviation from pre-trained weights, RFT applies a single global hyperparameter, causing all layers to drift from pre-trained weights at the same rate. This conflicts with our freezing study, which suggests that different components should adapt at different rates. This motivates our central question: how can we combine the modularity of freezing with the flexibility of RFT?
We introduce maps, module-wise proximity scheduling to capture the best of both strategies. Using a single linearly decaying proximity hyperparameter lambda max, following our empirically derived hierarchy identified in our freezing analysis, we can evolve different VLA components in a targeted manner. This allows for language layers to evolve more to adapt to action space while vision encoders are kept closer to their pre-trained representations. In this figure, the black solid line shows the original VLM weights, the green dashed line is the VLA weights during vanilla fine-tuning, and the orange line shows the weights after state-of-the-art robust fine-tuning. Maps is shown in blue, where weights of components are kept strictly aligned to our empirically verified hierarchy. To demonstrate the effectiveness of maps, we evaluate on three simulation settings: Kelvin, Liberal, and Simpler Inv, and four backbones: Mini VLA VQ, Mini VLA OFT, VLA Adapter, and Open VLA OFT. On each, we take the base model before action fine-tuning and compare the impact of vanilla fine-tuning versus maps fine-tuning on in-distribution and out-of-distribution success. We also test on a real Franca arm and manually collected 150 demos on 4 custom tasks, including grabbing Coke cans, stacking blocks, stacking cups, and closing laptop. For each real-world task, we also introduce an OOD variant. On Liberal, Maps demonstrates equal ID performance to vanilla fine-tuning but improves average OOD performance across the board. On Kelvin, Maps improves the number of intermediate tasks completed and average length of instructions within a 5-instruction sequence. On Simpler Inv, Maps demonstrates equal average ID performance but better OOD performance across the board. Most notably on Mini VLA OFT, Maps improves average ID by 17% and average OOD by 27%. Finally, on Franca, Maps improves average ID by 32.5% and average OOD by 30%. We hypothesize that Maps demonstrates more marked improvements on the real-world setting due to even greater data sparsity, which exacerbates the overfitting issue on vanilla fine-tuning. Beyond task success, Maps improves intermediate task success and decreases the number of retries per success. Lastly, Maps exhibits more careful execution. In cup's ID, it struggles to localize the second cup but releases cautiously and succeeds. In block's OOD, it adapts to the elevated blue block, recovers from an initial failure, and completes the task. Thank you so much for listening.